you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast, the hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. And when they are listening to that makes it official, welcome to the big show. As always, we have the most smartest people on the show, the brilliant minds that come with you, share their stories of journeys and everything else. Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind. Today's featured author comes to us from bookstolifemarketing.co.uk. With expert publishing to strategic marketing, they help authors reach their audience and maximize their book success. We have an amazing young man today. We're going to be talking to Dr. Rick Bein on the show today. Bein, I'm sorry, Rick. But Dr. Rick Bein joins us on the show. He is the author of the book called Eat or Be Eaten, out August 20th, 2024. Welcome to the show. Rick, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Real happy with the book, and looking at getting another one going here real soon.
So give us any .coms. Where do you want people to find you on the interwebs?
Well, they can find me at just my emails are bein@iu.edu, but you can get me on, let's call it Press Books with Indiana University. They have a lot of, as a platform there with a lot of things on them, stories and things that I put on there. Faculty often put their exams on there, but I put my stories in there, and I can edit them and pull them off and put them together and publish them. Whatever.
Awesome.
I've got about 80 stories in there. I took about 25 of them and had a theme with it. I put it into this little book called Eat or Be Eaten. And,
Eat or Be Eaten. Always good to have whenever I'm in the presence of cannibals.
That's right. Well, fortunately, I never had that extremely, but basically, it's about. I've lived a lot around the world. I've lived 12 years in tropical countries, working there and having my having a project to work on constantly. I started out in the Peace Corps, which was probably the best thing for me, and gave me the notion that I can go anywhere in the world as long as they're not shooting.
Yeah. You want to stay away from the places that shoot at you.
That's right. I want to do that.
Otherwise, you might end up being eaten instead of doing the eating.
That's right. Eaten by all kinds of things as your body lies there.
I'm against that wholly.
Yeah.
I like wholly all my parts.
Yes. But I put this together because I had a lot of different themes in it, and I thought it's time to get something published. And I'm adding more stories in there now, but not in this same book. And I wanted to get this study together, a theme together, and it was about things that strange things that I ate, or seemed almost had to eat because I was in a situation to be polite or whatever, and living and not just living in capital cities. I'm talking about living in the farms and the countryside, and in conditions where I was sleeping in a hammock, and so I did some pretty awkward things I had to do, and often the food was awkward as well. But then, on the other hand, there were times when I almost got eaten.
Oh,
so I put those in there too. So it's
so is this what is this book about? Is this a menu book of how to cook things, or is this a just stories of your adventures through life and being in some weird places?
Yeah, it's an adventure. It's adventure. Okay. It's kind of a memoir of adventures, and and things that I experienced and wanted to share. They went along with my research. As a professor, I did a lot of research on agriculture, traditional agriculture. I'm a geographer by training, but I study the geography of agriculture. And I started out at the Peace Corps doing agricultural extension, and I grew up on a farm in Colorado, so I have a lot of familiarity with agriculture, and I always like to interact with farmers wherever I go. And I just got back from India, where I had some interaction with farmers. That was just yesterday, so I'm still jet lagging coming back. And
we're glad to have you. So you were raised as a farm in northern Colorado.
Yeah.
At 20, you joined the Peace Corps as an agricultural extensionist in Brazil.
Yeah.
And you used this experience to become a geographer with degrees from the University of Colorado in Florida. And you became enamored with tropical agriculture environments and cultures, and you focused on Brazil, Africa, and New Guinea. You did 12 years living in the tropics. And so this is based on the stories that happened there in all the different places that you visited. What were some of the countries that you pulled these stories from in your venture?
Yeah. I just wanted to say I was doing regular academic research, but all these stories came up. Little things that weren't really academic. They were just interesting, funny little things that happened, strange. And I thought, well, these ought to be published too. So I'm retired now, and so I just put these together in stories. So a lot of the stories in Brazil. That was where I almost got eaten by a piranha.
Cool. Well, tell us a little bit about that. You opened the gate, so we got to get a tease out. Tell us a little bit of a tease out.
Well, here's an example of a piranha, little thing like that. And they swim in the large herds, or I don't know what you call them, lots of fish in a crowd. And their job is to clean the river, keep the rivers clean in the Amazon. So,
anyone?
or throughout the area. Actually,
anything edible.
Yeah, that's right. You have maybe 20 different varieties. Some are vegetarian, but the ones that
vegetarian, really?
Yeah, they keep the vegetation out of the rivers and clean it up.
You know how you can always tell who a vegetarian piranha is, right?
I'll bite.
They won't ever shut up about being vegan.
Well, these weren't vegan.
Okay.
But we didn't. There's another Peace Corps volunteer, and I got into we had been taking this family out to move them into an area that was pretty swampy, and the truck got stuck in the mud a few times. There was a bottle of Brazilian rum that got passed around. The driver got drunk, and ultimately we had to get out and push the truck out of the mud a few times. And by the time we got to our destination, we were filthy. And there was this nice little pond there, looked like a little oxbow off the main river.
Yeah.
And, that looks nice. And the Brazilians jumped in. We said, that's okay. We do that. And but then we didn't notice that they'd get out right away. They get wet, soap up, and wash the soap off. And this other American and I were just in there enjoying ourselves and scrubbing. And as soon as we walked out of the water, some little guy came by and he says, "You were lucky this time. Men don't swim with piranhas without a swimming suit on." That was rather sobering.
Yeah, because men got some of those dangly bait looking items that
Yeah, that's right.
You use when you go fishing.
Yeah, that's right. And fortunately, there was no blood, so normally they go after blood.
Yeah.
So, but occasionally they'll take a nip at something that they see, like you said, it's dangling there. And but we were lucky. We did get out of that night, though. We went to their campfire and sat around. And they told piranha stories. And that didn't help either, though. I still pretty sort of shell-shocked here with that.
How'd you get your vasectomy, Bob? I just went down the Piranha River.
That's right.
I can't have children.
Yeah.
I lost an inch or two. I don't know what that means, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have sired 5 children.
Well, clearly they didn't get to you then.
That's right. That's right. but anyway, they was we had but then talked about it. I couldn't sleep that night. I just sort of writhed in my hammock, turning over and over. And the next day, we went down there to that little pond where we were and went fishing. We caught a dozen piranha and stuff. It just about a half hour.
Wow.
They're really tricky to catch because if you don't throw your bait out there, just then and they steal it just like that.
They got like sharp teeth. I mean, they probably cut.
Oh yeah. I don't know if you can see from this, but how these are. There's a kind of a sharp tooth there, a set of them, and they can. But there's big sizes. This is a small one. There's some of them that are about twice that size, and some of them are. I guess these are meat eaters. This one, but some of them are vegetarian. But that's. But anyway, we went and they went and caught all the fish there. They're tricky to take off the hook though, because I swear when I had one hanging on a hook like this, and he's dangling. I guess I could show him. He's dangling on the line like this, and I could swear he was jumping at my hand. And I don't know how he could do that. But anyway, we didn't take the hooks out. And come to find out, that's how nobody did. The Brazilians didn't either. And what you did is when you cooked them up, you fried them up really hard, and you threw and then you could take the hooks out of the dead fish. And you had a little bowl in the middle of the table. Everybody put their hooks in there so they could be retied for the next time around. But everybody wants to know, well, what is a piranha? What do they taste like? How about this? Fish.
Fish. They taste like fish.
And they were really bony. So they cooked them so hard that the bones were just crunchy. So it was like eating pretzels. And
wow.
And so he's
eating pretzels.
Yeah. And they were. So anyway,
just like eating pretzels.
Well, I think you were hungry, you ate something. Were
they salty too? Did you put salt on them and stuff like that? Or?
Well, they cooked them in some oil that had some salt in it, and weren't too bad there. But it's just a good thing is I was eating them rather than eating me. So
that's true. That's true.
But
as the book cites,
yeah,
better be eaten than to.
Yeah, that's right.
Be eaten.
Yeah, so that was one event where I just about got eaten. There was there's some others, but things I had to eat. For example, I would go with my students to their villages, and then they would treat me like a king. When I got there, they give me the best food. And this one village, they pulled out this. It was the season that the termites were swarming. These are flying termites, not the kind you think you see in the States here, but they have these great big mounds, and they fly after a rainstorm. And anyway, they managed to trap them with a candle, and they fly to the light and burn their wings, and they end up in a little pit there. They collect them all up, then roast them. Well, anyway, I didn't know all this, and here I was sitting at the table, and they put this big bowl in front of me, a huge bowl, just a big pile of them, just a big pyramid of termites. They're roasted, and you could see the little half-inch bodies of the termites, and set it there in front of me, and oh my God, what about everybody else? And everybody else, the locals were all standing on salivating, looking at this bowl, and I'm just sitting there wasting time. And what do I do here? So I finally asked my student said, "Hey, Patrick, what do I do here?" He says, "You're the guest of honor. You have to eat first, or else nobody's going to eat." So I really got to show my ignorance here with this thing, or my own stupidity. And anyway, what I did was he says, "Take a few off the top and stick them in your mouth." I did that, and I just sort of held them there in my mouth, but nobody noticed because everybody dove into these like they were going out of style. Everybody was just scrambling and stuffing their mouths with it, and I was watching all this, and my plan was to spit them out after a bit here, but I forgot I had something in my mouth. And as I was watching all these people eating it, I accidentally started to chew what I had. Discovered that why they liked them, because they were salty.
Saltiness. So were they naturally salty?
Yes, they were. It's interesting because the people are starved for salt there because they're in the rainforest and all the salts are washed out of the soil by all the rain. So where do there's a shortage of salt there. And so anyway, the termites dig down on the ground and they pull up all these minerals and store it in their bodies. So that's why they liked them so much. It was so salty.
Wow. Well, salt is,
it's considered a delicacy. It really is. And it's only like a season that's there. So you just don't have them all the time. But this is true in South Sudan. This is where this happened, but it's all over Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania. That East Africa area there is where the termites are most popular.
Well, that's just wild, man. And so you had all these adventures. I guess there was a lot of other fun stuff that you ate while you were there. They're in the book, or maybe you avoid just being eaten. Did you come across any cannibals, maybe?
No, not really. There were. I lived in Papua New Guinea, and they've often been maligned by saying that they're cannibals there. There was some historic figure there that disappeared, and there's always hypothesizing that he got eaten, but who knows? There's different tribes, about 800 tribes, and they all have different rules and different adventures and different foods, and they also have different religions. One of the things is they have a ancestor worship, so they worship the ancestors. And each one has a different definition of what their ancestors are like, and so usually they think they're afraid of the ancestors, and so ancestors can kind of control them.
Boy.
And so I worked in a village there along the coast there for a while. It wasn't my main job was to work with the university and helping them get some environmental processing and thinking in their coursework. And but I had this opportunity to go down the coast there and work with this village that was a fishing village and a vegetable growing village. They didn't go into their forest at all, and they were afraid of the forest. And because that's where the ancestors were. So it turns out that the ancestors were probably the game wardens, kept the forest, or forest rangers, I guess I should say, and they kept people from destroying the forest. Anyway, the project was to develop this trail up the side of the mountain, up the side of their mountain from the coast to the 6,000-foot mountain, and there were 3 of them that were willing to go with me up there. And we went up, but we kept running into ancestors and said we had to stop this project or whatever. And
really?
Yeah.
Now, were these really alive people?
Well, yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe they were from.
No, not the ancestors. The people are there, but their ancestors are there. It could be anybody. The missionaries have to deal with that too when they come in. And they've been better. The Germans brought in missionaries in the late 1800s, and Catholic and Lutherans were brought in, and they're stationed in different villages. And it's interesting how Christianity sort of fit in there because they, they worship ancestors. Hey, Jesus, he's just another ancestor.
Oh, yeah.
We can add him onto the bunch.
Sure.
And so it wasn't difficult to convert these people to Christianity. And as things matured, I guess maybe they began to see things differently. But that was it. But they still had those ancestors. A lot of them, they would consult the ancestors before. So they had different ways. One of them they smoked the bodies and they set them on scaffolding on the edge of in a dry spot and come in and visit them periodically.
Oh, wow.
I remember going with one guy, and he said, "Hey, this is my grandfather." I said, "Oh, yeah, well, I come and talk to him all the time." And then in another community, the people actually, when somebody died, they just ate the bodies.
What?
They ate ate the bodies of their parents or whoever else died in the village.
Oh, wow!
And
you really got to be hungry to do that.
Yeah, I guess you would, but fortunately, I wasn't in that category.
Yeah, that's one way to save on burial costs, really, when you think about it. Maybe I should talk to my mom and my family, for family planning and shit. Maybe I should talk to them about some of this because, funerals are expensive and that whole burial thing and stuff.
Yeah, they had it down pretty good. But they made it quit because there was a disease they kept passing on to each other.
No kidding.
And they made them die when they were around 30. Oh, and so...
You mean they got a disease from eating dead people? Who knew?
Well, it was something that was in the family, and they just passed it on down to the next generation. And
was it indigestion? No, I'm just kidding. I didn't do that.
Well, it was a lot worse than that.
Oh, wow. Well, it did kill him. So yeah, I've had indigestion like that. Usually after Taco buffet night.
Yeah,
Taco Bell buffet night.
Well, you're still here, and that's good.
Well, for now. I'm not 30 yet.
Give it a chance.
Give it a chance. Give it some time.
Yeah. So those are different ways that people did it. And the one village I worked at, they didn't do that. They're just different things you had to learn, though. I remember going to a village where it's just, I want to go to where do I go to the bathroom out here? I think, well, I can run off in the forest.
It's a forest.
But they didn't. They went out. They waded out in the ocean.
Oh.
And just sort of got a little more than waist deep, and just sort of bobbled there in the water. And I said, I'll try that. But boy, that was kind of odd because, the fish were there, and that was their dinner, And then I wasn't fast enough.
So going to the bathroom was their dinner, huh?
For the fish.
Yeah. And then you go eat the fish later?
That's right.
Of course, fish do swim in their own poop and pee. That's why they're fish.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah. But doing the process was a little unnerving because you're in the water and these fish are wanting you to hurry up and they bat you in the butt. And
oh, really?
Yeah.
You're all just swarming your butt.
Get on with it,
Yeah. That would be hard to concentrate. Like it's hard enough,
Exactly.
to sit down and take a poops. You got to have the phone in your hand. Otherwise, I don't know, you can't concentrate, right? There's some scientific rule behind it.
Yeah.
And then, that would make me weird. It's kind of like when you're in the bathroom and the guy keeps looking over into your stall, and you're like, hey, man, eyes forward, buddy.
How's it going?
How's it going? This isn't an interpersonal communication time right now. You do your thing, I'll do mine. Right. It's not one of those things. But yeah, that would be weird, man. I'd still be worried about some little piranha coming up and deciding it found a little worm there wiggling in the water.
Yeah.
And take a chomp out of it.
Fortunately they're only in Brazil. In that northern Venezuela, Colombia, they have them as well.
Do they really? Wow. Note to self: never travel someplace where I can't bathe in properly. Yeah. So there's that. So you tell these stories in the book. What do you hope people come away with? What do you hope when they learn when they read your stories?
These were things that I just. There's those stories that I always remember them. I would tell these stories verbally to people, and they said, "You don't write those down." And so I've been doing this for about 20 years, getting them down, collecting this, and set them down and tell the story, and go on to the next one. And so, and it was sort of fun to do that. Go back and remember them all, and I guess I wanted to have it available for anybody else who wants to look at it. Maybe my family, and they can enjoy that, but realize it. Other people enjoyed them as well, and got a kick out of hearing those stories. Yeah, and so I've got it in different stages. I sort of put it up, a lot of things growing up on the farm, a lot of the pranks we pulled and that sort of thing. And then I went off to the Peace Corps, another set of stories, and then went on to grad school. I didn't have too many like those kinds of side stories in school, but my first job was at the University of Khartoum after I finished my graduate work at Florida. And so I stayed there 3 years. I had a fantastic time. Wouldn't want to go there now. But at the time I was there, it was a very loving place. And people were very hospitable. And I traveled all over the country and just I was by myself when I was doing the traveling, and people took care of me, hey. And
that's pretty cool.
So it was a pretty cool place. And I did that, and then came back to came back to the States and picked up a teaching job and stayed there for quite a while, and then took a project to go to New Guinea.
Oh, wow.
That's the one I went with there. My mission was to bring in environmental concepts and their teaching programs at their university. I did that, and that's one. But I also had the side job when I went down to the village, what I was telling you about with their bathroom in the ocean. So then I came back, and I was all this time I've been teaching at Indiana University. So I brought I use a lot of those stories in my teaching as well. So that sort of brought some clarity to them. And then after that, I had had a project in Mozambique.
Okay.
And I used my Portuguese from Brazil. It worked out pretty well there. Mm-hmm. And they thought I was Brazilian with my Portuguese. So that was a good time. I had some stories about the people in the farming and the garden work that they do, and things like 4-story agriculture, where they have not just crops in one row or anything like that. They have crops under and vertically. Coconut trees at the top, and then underneath that you have fruit trees like oranges, and underneath them you would have plants like corn, cassava, taller crops, and then under that you would have beans and a lot of ground crops, cassava crops, the root crops. So they'd have all this in the same space, and they all sort of helped each other out.
Wow, that's pretty sweet.
One would put some nitrogen back in the soil, beans would, and that the others would benefit from that. And some of the tall ones would shade the crops that needed shade. So they had a lot of companionship there between these different crops. And the locals had developed this thing for them for over years, through maybe centuries of time, as they discovered what works. And it's not something that you produce surplus from. You're not you're not marketing anything. You're providing enough for yourself and your neighbors, and a little bit of trading, but you're not selling all this stuff overseas. And that's one of the problems, is we want to develop these countries so that they are involved in the world economy. So that's the kind of the contrast that I found there was, what do you do? These people are all right, they're happy, but then people want to take their land and make it commercial and produce large quantities of produce. So there's a dichotomy there.
So you lived this interesting life. Tell us about this new book coming out, I think, that you're working on. What's that about?
Well, I'm going to call it Cultures of Agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of what I told you about with the 4-story agriculture would be in there. Some of these might be duplicated from that, but they're so there I'll be looking at the different attitudes toward agriculture, why they're doing it and when they're doing it, and a lot of the superstitions that go with these things, and the crops that what needs to happen to next, and this sort of thing. But also use the comparison of crops and agriculture in this country. I use the example of our farm in Colorado, and I live in Indiana right now, and I'm working on the last chapter, which is the culture of Indiana agriculture. Mm-hmm. But I've got examples in there of of course, the Sudan, Iceland is in there, places like, and then of course, Papua New Guinea farming, and what little there is, most of it's hunting and gathering kind of thing, but they raise gardens. Then Brazil, very much, that's where I started out with my research. So these are ways, that's the way that book will look. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, as we go out, give people a final pitch out to pick up your book wherever fine books are sold, and .coms for you as well.
Yeah, it's available in Amazon, and you can Google it. You can Google my story. Just call it. Well, I have the 80 stories together in a website called Traveling Farmer.
And
you can Google that, and it'll come up among other things, and you can find all these other stories in there as well. So, and I do have a YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. It's got about 25 stories in it, different ones where I'm just sort of narrating. And you just Google my name and you'll find it in the YouTube. Yeah.
So as we go out, thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate you and all that good stuff. Wonderful stories, adventures of life, as it were, and all that good stuff. So thank you very much for coming by and sharing that with us. Ladies and gentlemen, pick up the book, Eat or Be Eaten, wherever fine books are sold. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the TikTok, and all those crazy places on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next time.
You've been listening to the most amazing, intelligent podcast ever made to improve your brain and your life. Warning, consuming too much of the Chris Voss Show podcast can lead to people thinking you're smarter, younger, and irresistible sexy. Consume in regularly moderated amounts. Consult a doctor for any resulting brain bleed.